Creating a functional, usable product depends on lots of moving pieces, roles, and talented individuals. Similar to the way UX researchers help UX designers learn what it takes to design a user-centered product, developers make the designs and features that UX designers have created functional. When it comes to websites, front-end and back-end developers are crucial in building the UX team's vision. They work together to produce an end product that's both functional and visually captivating. The role of front-end developers, commonly referred to as web developers, is to write code for all the user-facing interface based on UX designer specifications. Essentially, they help to create the functionality that users will be interacting with on an app or website. Meanwhile, back-end developers write code for the website's architecture and data storage or retrieval based on the UX sitemap and functionality. Users don't often see the work back-end developers do, but they play an essential role in making it all possible. For example, a fast-loading website is often the result of good back-end engineering. As a designer, you'll likely work with both front and back-end developers. These developers will be working with your final designs, but how do you determine when your designs are final? Here are a few things to ask yourself. Are the designs a true representation of the intended user experience? Have placeholder text, icons, and imagery been replaced with finalized assets? And are participants or users able to interact with and interpret the designs without external guidance? If your team can answer these questions with a resounding yes, then you've done it. You've finalized your designs, and it's time to hand off the designs to engineering for production. When you land a design role at a company, you'll work with front-end and back-end developers to fully realize ideas. Working collaboratively will be essential to your success. You'll be faced with various challenges depending on the methodology that's guiding the team, and there's no singular right way of doing things. It's all about what works best for the team, so communication is key. Next, we're going to explore the how-tos in handing off design specifications in Adobe XD. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how UX designers can effectively hand off design specifications, or specs for short, in Adobe XD to developers. Adobe XD provides designers with a way to improve communication between themselves and developers by offering design spec sharing within the software. Before you send design specs to developers, you want to ensure your mockup or high-fidelity prototype is relatively complete. This means images, colors, sizes, and positions should display a cohesive flow between one artboard or screen to the next. Here are the library website designs I've been working on throughout this course. I created different artboards for the different sizes the website is likely to be, from a desktop computer to a mobile phone. I have all of the different wireframes I created for the home page, search bar, search page, cart page, and more. Beneath the wireframes are the mockups, complete with images, descriptions, and other visual elements that make the website seem more realistic. As we draw closer to the finish line, it's vital that designers provide a prototype that's as close to the final product as possible. Now I'm ready to share this prototype with the developers I'm working with. I want to send my teammates a link where they can access the Adobe XD file I've been working on and its design specs. If your document is not already published to the cloud, you'll need to do that now. I can do this quickly by going to the Assets panel and clicking the Upload icon in the top right corner. A window opens and there's a big blue button you can click to publish the file. Easy peasy. Navigate to the upper left corner and click the Share tab to open a panel on the right side of the screen. It reads Link Settings. In the first box, you can type in a name that clearly indicates to developers what you are sending. It's helpful to include the project name and version. I'll name it WCL version final. Under View Settings, you can choose the type of file you'd like to share with viewers. Design Review shares a document that allows you to receive feedback on your design or prototype. Development allows you to share it specifically with developers. Presentation optimizes your design in a presentation format, while User Testing is an excellent format to test the design for flow. There's also a custom setting where you can modify the experience to your preference. In this case, since I want to share this with the team that's in charge of creating the front and back-end coding, I'll select Development. Choosing this option will populate additional settings. Now I'll choose between 3 supported platforms: web, iOS, and Android. I can also customize the level of security on the document. Under Link Access, I can allow anyone with a link to access the document by selecting anyone with the link. Or perhaps I only want those who are invited to view the prototype, in which case I'll select the Only Invited People option. If it's highly sensitive material, I may opt for anyone with password access. In this case, I'd like any developer I share the link with to be able to access the prototype. I can click Create Link and that will populate a shareable URL. If you make any changes to those settings, make sure you click the Update Link button so it stays up to date for all project stakeholders involved. And that's how you create a shareable prototype to send to developers. If you've been completing the courses in the certificate program in order, you've already learned about the value of portfolios for UX designers. Portfolios are the primary way for designers to present their work to recruiters, hiring managers, and everyone else. And the major components of your portfolio are the case studies. Let's review why case studies are so important. A case study is a summarized presentation of a design project that typically includes the project goal and objectives, your role in the project, the process your team followed, and the outcome of the project. You might be wondering, why are case studies so important? Case studies are a visible demonstration of your design knowledge, your willingness to collaborate with the team, and your ability to see an idea through from start to finish despite challenges. When a recruiter or hiring manager is considering you for a job, they'll want to find case studies within your portfolio. Each design project you complete will have its own case study. Case studies should be presented in a concise and engaging way. Your case study needs to tell recruiters exactly what they need to know as quickly and efficiently as possible. Your case studies need to be visually appealing and easy to skim. There are some critical pieces that your case study should include, such as your role in the project, the goal of the project, your target user, research conducted and the research findings, your sketches and wireframes, your finished polished designs, key challenges or constraints that you faced, and most importantly, what you learned during the design process. If you want to check out an entry-level designer's portfolio, I recommend revisiting an earlier course where my colleague Kunal walked through a case study from Josh's portfolio. It's linked in the course readings. When you're ready, you can begin building your case study for the responsive website designs you just finished. It's time to add a second project to your portfolio. Good luck.
It's been a while since I last joined you, but I'm back now to share some information about applying for jobs in UX design. As an entry-level designer myself, I hope I can share some perspectives that will set you up for success in your job search. Do you remember at the beginning of this program when you learned about the different roles that UX designers can play? As a reminder, a generalist is a UX designer with a broad number of responsibilities. Most UX designers begin their careers this way, doing various tasks. Or, if you become really interested in one part of UX design, you might find your niche as a specialist. A specialist dives deep into one particular UX design role, like interaction, visual, or motion design. Interaction designers, visual designers, and motion designers actually have pretty different jobs. Let me share a little bit more about each one of them, and some considerations when searching for these job openings online. Interaction designers focus on designing the experience of a product and how it functions. They figure out how to connect the user's needs and the business goals with what's actually feasible to build. I'm an interaction designer myself here at Google. Some keywords to look out for when searching for an interaction design job are user flows, wireframes, user interface mockups, and prototypes. If you excelled at creating your wireframes earlier in the program, you might want to pursue interaction design. Then there's visual designers. Visual designers focus on how a product or technology looks. They focus on things like iconography, typography, color, space, layout, and brand. If you've liked fine-tuning these design elements in your mockups and high-fidelity prototypes, this might be a good path for you. And last but not least, motion designers. Motion designers Think about what it feels like for a user to move through a product and how to create smooth transitions between pages on an app or website. In other words, they use movement to convey an idea. They create interactions through transitions and animations. So if you liked playing with triggers and motion while creating your prototypes, that's the kind of work a motion designer might focus on. Depending on where you work and your career trajectory, you might have a depth of knowledge in one of these specific areas. Or you might have generalized knowledge and skills in each area. When you're trying to find work in UX design, it's important to consider whether you want to pursue a generalist or a specialist role like one of these. My advice to you is to keep an open mind, especially for your first job and early on in your career. It's hard to know exactly what type of specialty you might want to pursue before you get some on-the-job experience. So cast a wide net. All right, outside of these UX design jobs, there are a few other types of jobs that you might find during your search that I want you to be aware of. For example, you might find or search for jobs labeled UI designer. UI, or user interface designers, have similar responsibilities to visual designers. They're more concerned with the look and function of a digital product's interface and less focused on wireframing or information architecture. Some companies don't differentiate between UI and UX designers. So feel free to check out job postings for UI designers, read the job description carefully, and decide if you'd be a good fit for the role. In addition, you might want to explore product design. Product designers tend to work with both visual and interaction design and are responsible for figuring out how the whole product comes together. Product designers work together with the branding team, often defining the product's brand and marketing along the way. One more thing. You'll probably find job postings that simply list the position as a UX designer. That might mean you'd be responsible for any number of design tasks, from planning a button's location to designing its shape and style, to making it appear as if it's being pressed. Be open to generalized roles like this in your job search, as they're a great way to learn a bunch of different skills. Later, when you've gained more real-world experience, you can reevaluate whether you want to transition into a more specialized role. All right, you're ready to check out some UX design job postings with these titles. Take a moment to reflect on the type of work you might want to do and if you'll search for a general or specialized title. Then, start exploring what's available in your area. Now that you've started to think about the type of UX design jobs you might be interested in, let's talk about some common career paths: internships, apprenticeships, freelancing, and entry-level jobs. Internships are a great way to start your career. An internship is usually a short-term role with limited responsibility. You often work closely with a supervisor to learn more about the industry that you're interning in. It's a fantastic way to get real work experience. Plus, an internship might lead to a full-time job in the future. Another way to start your career is with an apprenticeship. Apprenticeships provide paid on-the-job training to help you develop real skills. Apprenticeships are similar to internships because you work closely with an experienced professional, but apprenticeships have a longer duration, usually 1 or 2 years. You could also explore freelancing. Freelancers work for themselves and market their services to businesses to find customers. Working as a freelancer can help you gain experience on real UX design projects. A good way to get started as a freelancer is to offer your services to a small business or nonprofit. In exchange for your work, you'll receive a good recommendation and a project to include in your portfolio. You'll learn more about freelancing in the next course. And finally, the most common way to start your career in UX design is an entry-level job. Entry-level jobs are roles that do not require prior experience in the field. The skills and portfolio pieces that you've developed in this program will help you get started as an entry-level UX designer. Plenty of companies might be interested in hiring someone who's completed this program and produced a portfolio of outstanding work. During your job search process, you should also consider the type of company you might want to work for. Let's quickly review some common types of companies where UX designers work so you can keep these in mind while reviewing job openings. First, there are startups. A startup is a new business that wants to develop a unique product or service and bring it to market. Startups generally have tight budgets and few employees, so each person has to perform a variety of jobs and move quickly. If you're a UX designer at a startup or another small business, you'll likely be a generalist. Designers at companies with fewer employees get involved in many parts of the business. Working at a startup or small business can be stressful, but also very rewarding. You learn quickly and usually have a lot of responsibilities, so it can be a great way to launch your career. Another common place UX designers work is at advertising agencies. Advertising agencies are teams of creatives hired by clients to build marketing campaigns. Working at an ad agency is a lot like freelancing in that you get to work with a bunch of different brands. But you'll be employed by the agency instead of being self-employed, and you'll be a part of a team. Design agencies and design studios are another good option to consider. A design agency provides a one-stop shop for the look of brands, products, and services. They're usually more specialized than ad agencies because they focus on design and branding. Since design agencies work with multiple clients, you might not work on a project from beginning to end. UX designers at design agencies regularly move between teams and work on different stages of a product's development. You'll probably be a generalist and the only designer on a project. You'll be exposed to a lot of different industries and get to solve unique problems. One more option. You could work as a UX designer at a corporation like Google, Apple, Nike, or Amazon. Corporations and other big companies have thousands of employees working on lots of different projects. UX designers are typically specialized in their work and focus on one project from beginning to end. Working at a big company is a great way to learn about specialization within UX design. Plus, you get to learn from other experts. When you're looking for jobs, it's important that you have an idea of what you'd like to do. Maybe you're flexible and willing to pursue any type of job in UX. Or maybe you have your heart set on becoming a motion designer at a big corporation. Whatever your unique situation and interests, these are important factors to consider in your job search. So, there you have it. You now have a strong baseline of knowledge for your job hunt. You'll also want to narrow your job search with other details, like your preferred location or level of experience required, but we'll get to that later. For now, start exploring online and take notes of jobs that pique your interest. Now that you've determined the types of jobs and companies you're interested in pursuing, it's time to start your job hunt. There will probably be lots of online searching, networking with professionals in the industry, and asking for referrals from friends. So without further ado, let's get started. The first resource you might use to find a job is Google for Jobs, which is an enhanced feature of Google Search. You can type your job search terms directly in your browser's search bar, and Google will aggregate thousands of job boards and company websites to find the jobs that match your terms. From there, you can add filters to narrow down your search for your specific criteria, such as the type of position you're looking for, required work experience, and the location of the job. Another place to find job postings is on the websites of specific companies you might want to work for. Some larger companies even have their own websites dedicated solely to recruitment. Next, check out job postings on all-purpose job boards like Indeed, Glassdoor, and ZipRecruiter. These job boards have lots of job search functionality and filters. You can also upload your resume to the site to get matches tailored to your interests. In addition, you might want to explore industry-specific job boards. If you completed the first course in the program, you might remember learning about professional networking sites like LinkedIn, Dribbble, and Behance. LinkedIn caters to professionals in all industries and is a favorite spot for recruiters of all kinds, while Dribbble and Behance are more tailored to the UX community. These sites have their own job boards, where companies can post openings for UX professionals. You can also review the profiles of companies that post jobs. It's important to maintain your online profiles when you're using sites like LinkedIn, Dribbble, and Behance. Your work experience and portfolio will automatically be tied to whatever position you apply for, and hiring managers will expect to be able to review examples of your work. So be sure your online profiles paint the picture of who you are as a designer. And if you decide to pursue freelance work, there are freelance job boards too, which can be a great entry point for new designers. It's worth checking out all these websites during your search. Keep in mind, the job search doesn't happen entirely through job boards. For example, you could also try to find a job through professional networking at industry events. Attending networking events in person or virtually is a great way to meet new people, make connections, and learn about job openings. Industry events can be relatively small, like the local chapter of a larger organization or an event at your community's library. Or industry events can be really large, like an international conference. Either way, these events are an opportunity for you to meet UX professionals, learn about their jobs and companies, and demonstrate your interest in starting your career. To find events like these, check out online resources like Medium, Eventbrite, or Meetup for a comprehensive list and joining details. We'll share a few tips in the course reading too. You should also begin personal networking. Consider reaching out to your friends, family members, classmates, former coworkers, and managers about starting your new career in UX design. You'd be surprised how many times you can successfully make a connection with someone in the industry just by talking about work with people you already know. They might be able to connect you directly with recruiters in the field or suggest a group where these professionals meet, both online and offline. The idea is to make your interests known because you never know who others in your network might know. All right, now you have a solid understanding of where to search for jobs. Up next, let's explore how to analyze job descriptions and make updates to your resume. You've been thinking about the types of UX design jobs you might want to apply for, and you just learned about where to search for jobs. Now, in this video, you'll learn how to explore job descriptions and update your resume based on a job description. I'll share a few pro tips along the way, so let's get started. As a reminder, job descriptions explain what you do in the role you're applying for. When you review job descriptions, you'll want to pay attention to key terms. Key terms are important words that tell you the specifics about the job. To search for a key term within a job description, use Control F or Command F. This is known as the find command. If you're in a web browser and want to search all the text on a page, pressing Control F will bring up a search bar. Type in that search bar and you'll be able to locate the text you've typed within the page. A lot of what you've learned through this course will help you notice key terms that other beginner designers can't. For example, words like usability study, wireframe, prototype, visual design, and ideate can hint at what the role entails. Many people who are new to the field of UX design probably can't explain the difference between wireframes and prototypes, but you can. So this is something to highlight in your resume. That's my first pro tip. Use key terms from job descriptions in your resume. If a company expects you to build prototypes, you'll want to emphasize that you understand what this means and showcase your previous experience with prototypes. Keep in mind, key terms might also include soft skills like collaboration, presenting findings, or working remotely. These soft skills refer to how you get work done, rather than what you're working on. If there are certain ways you really like to work, feel free to search for those key terms and include them in your resume too. In addition to key terms, you'll also want to take note of the job requirements listed. Job requirements describe the expectations of the person who lands that job. It's often helpful to specifically mention some of these job requirements in your resume to show that you're a good candidate for the role. So it's similar to the first pro tip, but my second tip is to mention some of the job requirements in your resume. All right, after you've dug into a job description in detail, you should analyze the key terms and requirements you've noted. How do the expectations for the role align with your experience and interests? Remember, you do not need to meet every single job requirement listed, but you should be comfortable and confident with the majority of them. Finding a job is a two-way street. As much as you want a company to hire you, you also want to make sure that you will enjoy and succeed in the role. So while you're analyzing the job description, determine if you're a good fit for the job. Now that you have carefully reviewed the details of the job, are you still interested in applying? Sometimes a job that seems perfect at first glance is less appealing after careful consideration. That's okay. Not every internship or job will be a good fit for you. But if a job interests you and you have some of the required skills, don't let the idea of a perfect fit stand in the way. Adapt your resume to that specific position and show the recruiter or hiring manager why you are a good fit for the role. Finally, let me share one more tip. Decide if the job will help you meet your goals. For example, if you're looking for a paid job, then an unpaid internship might not be right for you. It's okay to go outside of your comfort zone, especially for your first position. But you don't want to move forward with a role that won't help you meet your short-term or long-term goals, both personally and professionally. With all of this in mind, you are ready to review some job descriptions. The more you explore, the more you'll find. So be persistent and keep searching. At this point, you're ready to take a major step in the job application process, creating a resume. If you've never written a resume before, that's okay. Over the next few videos, we'll cover the entire process, from choosing a resume template to populating the resume with keywords from UX design job descriptions. We'll also discuss how resumes are structured, and we'll dig into what makes a UX designer's resume different than the standard resumes, from the layout to the typography. You'll get to apply the visual design principles you've learned in this program to your resume. To start, let's take a peek at a polished UX designer's resume as an example. Here, Emily lists her contact information at the top of the page. Next, she describes her education, including the completion of this certificate program. Then, she lists her work experience, like being a self-employed photographer and a sales associate. Finally, Emily lists her skills, including some of the skills she gained through this program, like working in Figma and Adobe XD. Your resume can follow a similar structure to this example, including your contact information, education, work experience, and skills. Sometimes, other information like awards or interests are included, but those aren't required. The amount of information to include and the length of the resume can vary depending on the experience of the person applying. But most people who are looking for internships or entry-level jobs should keep their resume to only one page. This is because hiring managers have to read a lot of resumes, so they usually need to scan them quickly. They might not have time to read every detail of a multiple-page document. So your resume needs to highlight major accomplishments, just like your portfolio. One page with just a few items in each section is all you need to show your experience. Plus, when it comes to UX design jobs, your portfolio is the key to getting an interview. Though your resume might get you through to the recruiter, your portfolio is what a hiring manager or potential boss will focus on. So make sure the link to your portfolio is prominent within your resume and easy to type. Likewise, include links to your professional networking pages as well, like LinkedIn, Dribbble, and Behance. Recruiters will be interested to see your role in the UX design community. Finally, keep in mind that you'll probably have multiple versions of your resume, tailored to specific jobs you're applying to. Before you start building a resume, it helps to brainstorm your ideal job beforehand. And as you review job descriptions, you'll want to include key terms and requirements in your tailored resume, like I described earlier. Okay, are you ready to start drafting your resume? Let's go. Now that you've written your resume, you're almost ready to start applying for jobs. But there's one last thing to know about your resume. You need to tailor it for every job you apply for. It's not enough to send out the same resume to every recruiter. You need to review the specific job descriptions for each position, even if you're only planning on applying for internships or entry-level jobs as a general UX designer. You'll need to customize resumes for each position. In this video, you'll learn how to update your resume for each job you're interested in. Think back to what you learned about the different needs for a UX design role at a startup, agency, or large corporation. The projects and tasks you do at these companies might be quite different. For example, a resume that emphasizes general skills in UX design wouldn't work if you're applying for a role as a motion designer. Instead, you might want to include specific skills and experience using animations and transitions. A fully remote job might need a candidate with digital collaboration experience, and a UX design job at a small company might need someone who's comfortable conducting research. All of these different jobs require carefully crafted resumes. So, how do you know what to include in each version of the resume? Start with the job descriptions. The descriptions for each job you're interested in applying for are a valuable resource when building your resume. Job descriptions clarify what the job responsibilities are, and they emphasize the particular skills you'll need to be successful. In an earlier video, I shared some tips for reviewing job descriptions. Here's where those skills come in handy. Each keyword is a flag for the hiring manager and software that will likely scan your resume before it reaches a human. Review the resume you've drafted so far. Is there any way you could rephrase your existing descriptions to make better use of the key terms from the job description of a role you're interested in? For example, this job description for a UX design intern states, you will communicate and test your ideas using prototypes that help others understand your intended design, synthesize findings from customer data to suggest improvements to the product, and/or suggest ways to capitalize on design patterns that delight our customers. Luckily, over the course of this program, you've built prototypes, synthesized data from usability studies, and revised your designs to make improvements. When describing the work you've completed in your portfolio, match the phrasing they use in the job description. When your resume has the same keywords as the job posting, hiring managers and the software they use will notice. You might even need to cut certain experiences based on whether they're applicable to the job you're applying for. For example, you might apply for a company that builds apps. In that case, you don't need to emphasize the work you've done on websites. It's worth including in your portfolio, but it shouldn't be central to your resume. Finally, when you're finished with the customized version of your resume, save a new copy of the file with the name of the company, job title, and your name. That way, the file can be clearly labeled for the recruiter and for your own records. Keep polishing your resume. Anytime you gain a new skill, finalize a new project, or achieve a new goal, add it to your resume. Then, the next time you see a new position you're interested in, you'll be ready to apply.
Congratulations on finishing this course from the Google UX Design Certificate. You can access the full experience, including job search help, and start to earn your certificate by clicking on the icon or the link in the description below. Watch the next video in the course by clicking here, and subscribe to our channel for more from upcoming Google career certificates.